Good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everyone. Welcome to KerbSide Collections with me, Adam Ritchie, a podcast about physical media collectors for physical media collectors. Join me this week as I burrow into the psyche of this episode's ever collector, my other boss from SIFPOP, Aaron Schweitzer. Welcome to the show, Aaron. Thanks very much for coming. Firstly, how are you going?
Doing all right. Hanging in there.
Hanging in there. Yeah, just for everyone listening, Aaron, I thought I was tired before I joined this show, but Aaron is on a weird schedule at the moment, and he's also very tired. So this is we could get some.
Well, look, here's the thing. Yes, I'm tired, but at the same time, like I'm used to it, and
Mm,
uh, and I'm always willing to put projects like this ahead of whatever else I got going on. And give me 5-10 minutes of talking movies, and I'm sure I'll be lively and energetic
yeah,
again.
well, yeah, absolutely. Get that adrenaline flowing with some movie talk. Look, well, yeah, it is appreciated that you take time out to
Of
join
course.
me on my little venture here. Thank you
hmm
very much. Tell our listeners what part of the world are you from?
I am in Iowa, which is a state in the United States, essentially just like middle America.
The Midwest, yeah?
Iowa's
Is that that's where?
Midwest, yeah, one
Yeah.
one state west of Illinois, which is where Chicago
Mm.
is. That's where I grew up. I live about 45 minutes away from the Field of Dreams, which was shot like in Iowa on location. It's an actual place in a city called Dyersville, which they played a couple MLB teams played there recently. They're doing some
All right.
renovations, so it wasn't anything this season. But Dyersville is pretty close to me. I'm only about 45 minutes away from it. So not too much to like know about it. So Dyersville is about 45 minutes north of me. About 45
Mhm.
minutes south of me is Riverside, Iowa, which is the self-proclaimed birthplace of Captain Kirk from Star Trek.
All right.
Because apparently, like in the original series, I don't know, I haven't seen the shows, I've only seen the Abrams
Mm.
movies. Apparently, in the original series, it just says somewhere in Iowa when it like is introduces us to Captain Kirk. And
Gotcha.
Riverside was like, we're that town, and everybody was like, sure, whatever, okay. So
We don't care. No.
so yeah, so if you've ever seen Fanboys, like they drive
I
through
have.
Riverside, where that
Okay.
so there's that whole Star Wars Star
That
Trek
makes
thing. So
sense. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love Fanboys. Fanboys
um,
is great.
so yeah, there's those. It's the birthplace of John Wayne,
Mm.
Jason Momoa as well. At
Right.
least did some high school stuff. Brandon Routh, Jason Momoa and Brandon Routh played high school soccer against each other in Iowa, like that. Of course, Iowa's probably most known recently for having Caitlin Clark, the second or third most popular woman in the world right now. Or
Oh, she's the
I don't know.
basketballer, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
probably not actually, but in terms of at least like celebrities.
yeah. Yeah,
So yes, she's from Des Moines. She went to the University of Iowa in Iowa City, where I live, and
yeah. Hmm.
now plays in the WNBA in Indiana.
Yeah, yeah. That name did ring a bell. I was thinking it was
hmm
politician, but no, I don't know what she was up to.
You got there.
Yeah, I got there. Yeah. Okay, so what on with the let's see, I guess why do you collect movies on physical media with so many other options out there? Like what got you into actually having that hard copy in your hands?
I think it comes down to a couple different things, but best illustrated in a point that a friend that I had over yesterday actually illustrated because he's not a letterbox user. He is now, but he just got on. And he was looking at making a watch list for himself, and he was going to write down every single place that these movies that he wanted to watch were available to stream. And he did it like a month ago, 6 weeks ago or so. And he said, and I started looking the other day, and they're all different again. So
Yeah, yeah,
look, with a
yeah.
million options out there, I mean, I know, like, obviously I'm in the States, you're not,
Mhm.
so we have Paramount Plus and Peacock, and HBO Max is just Max now, plus Apple TV Plus, plus Hulu, plus Disney Plus, there's also other things, especially if you want to get into some of the lesser known stuff like Shudder. There's
Yeah.
so many services. My understanding is that at least in some other countries, like Australia, some of them are sort of bundled together. You might have like
Yeah.
three that you might need to pay for, something like that. In
Um,
America, it's all over the place.
yeah, no, I have a few more than that. And it was actually just announced recently. So just for anyone listening, we are recording this near the end of October 24. So Max has announced they're coming to Australia next year,
Okay.
HBO Max. So there's an existing service that I just paid an annual subscription for that's going to lose all their stuff because that's where I get my HBO stuff on. So that's going to suck if they take that
Yeah.
away straight away. But yeah, but we do have Paramount Plus as well and all the others that you mentioned. But our Hulu is
Okay.
bundled into Disney's, it's called Disney Star. When we
Yeah.
get,
Yeah.
if we don't get the Hulu stuff on Disney, it goes to Amazon generally. So yeah,
Okay.
it's there or thereabouts.
So it's just look, there's a million options, and I don't know. I think most of them are cheap except for Netflix,
Mm,
or at least cheap enough, or bundle
mm,
prices, things like that. But either way, just the idea of I don't want to have to look up where my movie is. I want to just know it's on the
yeah.
shelf there somewhere. There's also the issue of what about if your internet is out? I live in a high storm area. It's not
Mm,
common for the internet to be out, or like, when I moved to my house, it took me like a week to get internet set up. I didn't have internet for a
yep.
week, so how would I watch movies then? But aside from going elsewhere, and I get it, right? Go outside, touch grass, do all that. But what if I want to watch,
Yeah.
Knives Out or something,
Yeah.
so there's that. There's also just issues of rights in terms of like buying physical
Mm,
versus digital. A lot of times, that digital stuff is written in a way where it's like this stuff can be removed at any given point,
yeah.
and we haven't seen an instance yet. But
Oh no, it's happened. It's happened here.
well,
It's happened in Australia where stuff has been. Well, Sony did a big announcement. They lost a lot of stuff.
Well,
Got
but a
people
lot of
upset.
times, I don't know. I use Voodoo for my digital movies, or it's Fandango at
Hmm.
home now. And a lot of times, it's like if you've purchased the movie, you can still access it. They just don't allow new purchases or things like that. But it's like
Right.
it's gonna
Yeah.
take one big movie to do something sometimes.
Mm,
It's really gonna like place a lot of distrust in
yeah.
people that do some of that. And I'm not like, look, if you're a digital collector, fine. But like people that do that, I understand the arguments. I just disagree. And honestly, what it comes down to, two of the biggest things for me is nobody's proud to show off a digital collection.
No.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. I love
nobody's
that.
like, hey, come when you get over to my house. It's like, hey, here's the TV remote. Scroll through all these, things or whatever.
Damn, that's
But when
true.
you walk in and somebody just sees your shelves, and then
Yeah.
can admire, you can pull it off the wall, you can read about the movie,
Yeah.
you can admire some of the artwork. And you know what, if you're close enough of a friend, hey, I love this movie, I saw it not that long ago, would you like to take it home, with you
Mm,
today and watch it, and I can just bring it back with in X amount of days or whatever, like that's something you can't do digitally. You used to be able to do,
mm.
like, if it was movies eligible, but they canceled that as well. Like there's no sharing with a friend other than
No.
password sharing.
Yeah. Which.
And then what I think is the biggest issue. So I mean, aside from just like loving to see my collection and also, somebody
Mm,
to see it as well, the biggest thing to me is that internet quality is just never, ever, ever going to give me as good of a picture as a 4K disc.
yep. Yep.
And sure, it can be really good, but also like I don't. I just got fiber internet not long ago, and it's
Oh
not
yeah.
even like the full stuff. But even then, like that really full, really fast, gigabyte a second. Like it's just not as good of a quality as a
No.
4K disc, and
Yeah. They're
it
massively
never will be.
compressed. No.
And not only that, but it's
It's
also inconsistent a lot of the times too. I mean, I don't have a full
yeah.
gig. I think I have like 300 megs. It just still
Okay.
should be more than enough to like stream anything
Yeah,
fine. And there's
absolutely.
times where I'm watching
Yeah.
things and it straight up looks like it's in DVD quality. So
Oh, really? Even at three. See,
never get that in a disc.
that's crazy. I mean, I have 100 megabit here at home, and I get 4K fine. Like I don't have any issues. But yeah, you're right. The quality is never like the disc is always going to be much more
You know,
impressive, I guess.
You know what is the worst possible experience when watching a movie that you never get in a disc is buffering.
Yes.
Buffering is like when ads come up on a service and you're just like, "Oh my
Yeah.
God, why?"
Hmm.
Especially when it's one of those where it's like you might even like pay for that service and then there's still ads or something like that. Buffering is annoying and I hate it.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's never any buffering with discs. So
Well, there shouldn't be. Depends on the player you've got. I know with my player, I get to just pause. Like it'll get to half an hour left in the movie and I'll just stop. And all I have to, it's an easy fix. I just open the tray and close it again and the movie starts playing. It's like it never happened. But
interesting.
yeah, it's a weird thing. I probably should get a more expensive player. But anyway, I mean, it's fine. It's no skin off my back. So,
Yeah,
but I did love that answer about, yeah, you can't show off a digital collection because I have a digital collection as well.
me too.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for me, it's generally movies that, well, before I started collecting physically hardcore the way I do now, you see a movie for $5 and it's like, well, you can buy it for five or rent it for five. Well, I'll just buy it for five, right? So,
Right.
and that's generally old movies that you can't buy in physical in Australia anyway. So, yeah, no, that's a good answer.
The ones that I buy on digital are either it's a matter of price, and it's just like
Mm,
it's a lot cheaper, or it's one that I don't think the quality will particularly matter. You know, not to say that I don't want to watch something in the best possible quality ever, but like this is a bad example because I have this one in physical, not digital. But like, does it really matter whether you're watching super bad in 1080p or 4K, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Not really, no. Or movies that I'm just either like willing, like trying to give a shot, or like if it's gone one day, I don't know that I'll care that much, you know. But if it's gonna be on my favorites of all time or anything like that, like I've got to have a disc.
yep, yeah. No, I
And
think
if I have a
that's
choice, if they're the same price or anything, I'll pick the disc over digital every time. But you know, sometimes it's just cheaper.
yeah. I think we have very similar experiences there. Actually, I'm very similar to your approach, which you've kind of answered a few of my questions going forward, but that's all right.
Cool.
This is what we're here for. So you were talking about, showing off your collection. What are you most proud of showing off in your collection? What do you have on display that kind of like a trophy when someone walks in? I want you to notice this one.
Yeah, I collect steelbooks. Like I think
Hmm.
every physical media collector. I love steelbooks. I wish every single movie was available in a steelbook. So I love showing off specific individual ones. And
Hmm.
maybe it might be fun to talk about favorite ones later. But I would say, like, aside from just pulling apart an individual one, I'd say that I'd be happy to like I could point somebody to it actually like got so big that I moved it like away from my like main stacks and put it like, sort of separated. But I have the entire MCU saga up until Avengers Endgame on Steelbook, and
Wow.
I used to have that like in real time. And even some of those steelbooks are not like the re-releases that they've had, like the
Yeah.
when they all re-released them in 4K, and so they did essentially like the poster cover art in a thing. I bought a 4K disc and swapped out because I had them when they were the 3D Blu-ray cases. Like Captain America Civil
Nice.
War is one of my favorite looking steelbooks, but I don't really
Okay.
like the 4K one at all. It's really great on the. It's like a sort of gray charcoal background. It's like a split down the middle, and it's half Captain America and half Iron Man. It's great. It's what Civil War should be versus just like a generic poster that you've seen a million times. It's probably AI generated, because it's Marvel and all that. So
Yeah.
or Disney Marvel, I should say. But Disney Marvel's marketing. So like I love that. I've because of the dip in quality in MCU films, I've sort of tailored that a little bit.
Hmm.
So I think between the original Iron Man and Avengers Endgame, at least, the only film that I don't have on Steelbook 4K is Captain Marvel because I had it
Right.
and then I just like I needed to trim down and I'm just like I don't know that I'll watch it again or it certainly won't be a lot. And I have Disney Plus anyway, and you
Yeah.
know so and then after like I have the Spider-Man 2 and 3 and I have Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness and I have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, all those on Steelbook. I don't
Okay.
I again used to have the Eternals and I got rid of that one. I never bought the Marvels one. I had the Black Widow one and got rid of it as well. I
Okay.
liked the Steelbook, but that one to me that was a little hard because I was like I like that Steelbook, but I really needed to condense some room, and
How,
so I was making a couple tough calls. So
how do you get rid of them? Like, as in, do you just put them on like a somewhere to sell them, like a sales site, like a marketplace
no,
type
there's
of thing?
a shop down the street for me that will take it. It's a pawn shop for movies. They'll take
Right.
and they'll give you store credit or whatnot. And so like there's one down the street for me that I don't take things to anymore just because they don't really give you hardly anything
Yeah.
for your stuff. But there's a place about an hour from me that I go to semi regularly. So it's one of those where it's like I'll put it in a stack in my closet, and then when I'm going to that city, I'll just take that stack with me and let them look through or whatnot. So I don't like getting rid of things either. Like I said, it was just
Mm,
I
yeah.
just needed to make a little bit of room and a little bit of space, and I don't have much room to expand at my current place. So
I
like at
do
my
find it
like
hard to get rid of stuff.
I'm just yeah I'm trying to be good about the other thing too, and I think is sort of one of the things that I've been trying to focus on more recently is not keeping movies for like any sort of like posterity stake or something like that. Like,
Okay.
you know, I don't particularly care for 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's just
All
not my
right.
kind of movie.
Yep.
Because of that, I don't particularly care if I have a copy of it. I mean, that may be a little bit different because I think that movie has like certainly some qualities to it. That's
Yeah.
one that I have on digital, and boy, I'm sure it
Hmm.
looks good on a 4K disc, but I just don't particularly like the movie enough to spend $30 on a disc for that one.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah.
So I wish. So it's one of those where it's like, look, it's just not a movie for me. Nobody cares. I think movie collectors need to curate their collection specifically to them, as opposed to
Mm,
just being like, see how I have, all the,
yeah.
as I say, all the Godfather movies. But it's like,
So do
at
you
least
not?
one and two, But if you're gonna have one and two, what's three? Especially I've got them in a matching steelbook set, But it's like,
Well,
you
that's
know
exactly right. Yeah.
it's like nobody's gonna care, if I was like, I have, every movie that Kurosawa ever did or whatever. It's like they're
Uh-huh.
like, okay, do you have Chicken Run? Like,
Yep, got that too.
yeah, it's like, I'm trying to curate my movie collection more closely to what I think resembles me and my taste in films. So I'm
Okay.
not worried
Right.
about keeping films that I didn't particularly like or love. For
Now,
the podcast that I run, we're doing like watching movies for the first time for me and movies that I own.
yeah, yeah.
And
So
like just I didn't love Bram Stoker's Dracula. It's fine. I don't think I
oh,
ever want to watch it again. And
that's swear words.
like I can appreciate it, but it's just not something I particularly enjoyed all too much, and I don't see myself watching it again. So I got rid
Hmm.
of it. I paid
So
ten
now,
dollars for it on a sale, and
okay.
I probably got like $5 back for it or something. And
Yeah.
like it's fine. It's okay. I'm sure it's on HBO or something.
So just for our listeners, and at the end we would have plugged this, but I know Aaron's collection to some degree because
Hmm.
Aaron hosts the Sip Hop Writers Room podcast, where basically the latest style of the show is Aaron sending out his list of movies that's in his collection that he hasn't watched, and basically
Hmm.
we will choose one and then go on to the show and we talk about it. So generally, most of us pick movies that we love that Aaron hasn't seen to Aaron to shit all over him for us, basically. These
Yeah, it
movies we love,
happens.
yeah, yeah, it does. It's funny, but yeah. So I mean, that was going to lead me to my next question. Do you obviously you blind? You buy movies blind, like movies you haven't
Hmm.
seen, but you're just happy to get rid of them if you don't like them. Yeah.
For the most part, like I don't know, for me, a blind buy has to be either like there's no way I don't love this movie, or at least like there's no way I'm gonna get rid of it for some reason.
Okay.
But to me, even a blind buy has a
Reputation.
no a price limit for me. Like
Okay.
the I think the last movie that I ever blind bought, like the day it came out, was The Martian because I didn't see it in theaters and I needed to see it as soon as I could. And you know
Hmm.
what? It's incredible and it was like one of the best
Yeah.
decisions I ever made. But I don't know. I don't. I mean, Best Buy doesn't sell stuff anymore, and I live right by one. And like I would go, but
Mm.
like if it was over $20, not a chance. And even then, like over 15, it's like I don't know, like I can wait for a sale. I've got enough movies on my watch list anyway. But
Yeah.
I'll probably, my one vice is I will blind buy some Criterions, but only on the half
Hmm.
off sale. But it's also
Yeah.
like I'm not buying every movie from the Criterion collection. I'm buying, well, for example, the last time there was a Criterion sale, I bought Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, which I'd seen,
Hmm.
Thelma and Louise,
Oh
which
yeah.
I've seen, but it's once a long time ago. But I'm not
Yeah.
gonna not like that movie.
Yeah.
Uh, and then I did
Yeah.
two other ones. One was like a 1930s or so film, 30s, 40s, 50s, something like that, called All the Money in the World, with just a really interesting
Okay.
premise. And it was also pretty cheap. I think it was even one of those like 16 or $17 Blu-rays or whatever with the half off
Yeah.
sale. And Blood Simple, the like one of the first
Oh,
Coen Brothers
nice.
movies.
Yep.
I love Coen Brothers stuff, especially
Yeah.
the like crime stuff. I'm not super about a Buster Scruggsy, and I really like No Country for Old Men, but I'd
Yep.
much rather watch Burn After Reading, which is
Okay.
my favorite Coen Brothers movie.
Oh wow,
Uh,
yeah, that's an interesting take. I mean, I love Burn After Reading, but
yeah.
I've never heard anyone say that's the favorite Coen Brothers. That's interesting.
It's not their best, but it is my favorite because
Yeah,
it's that perfect like
yeah,
zaniness of Fargo,
mm,
but boy, like it's a 90 like 6 minute movie that
yeah. It's a
feels like
nice,
45.
yeah. It whips along, and
It
it
just
is
goes,
funny.
and it's Brad Pitt's perfect and Clooney's
Yep.
perfect and
Yeah, Simmons
everybody's
in that movie,
perfect.
man.
J.K. Simmons is
He
incredible.
just sits
It's got
behind
like
his
the
desk
best,
at lines.
yeah.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
he's like, so what do we do? And what did we learn? Like it's just like
Yep.
it's incredible. I love it. So yeah, I mean, as far as blind buying, like not a certain amount, and typically I just wait for sales though.
Mm.
I'll buy most things for under $5 because that's the price of a rental anyway.
Yep.
And things that
You're not
I have
losing much.
seen for 10 or less, for sure. But also just it's been a minute since I've bought things that I haven't seen just because I have so much.
So
So
all the Australians listening to this and listen to the price points you're mentioning and go, honestly, you guys you have it so good over there, and it's
yeah,
probably
but we
a
do.
good thing I'm not in America because my collection would be bonkers with the
I
options you
mean,
guys have alone. And when you talked about the steelbooks before, like steelbooks in Australia are really only limited to the big tentpole films that are released, so we don't get steelbooks for everything. It's
they've
yeah,
certainly shrunk down, especially with Best Buy closing recently, or Best
yeah,
Buy choosing to not do physical media anymore.
yeah.
Um,
Do you just do a
it's certain
Walmart type of thing? Is that
Walmart or Amazon, like
yeah?
a lot. Sometimes there's exclusives between the two, but
Mm,
that's
mm.
pretty much your options. Or Zavi is another good
Yeah,
place.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's pretty much it. But you're still talking the price point also kind of went up, and it sort of has been. And I get it, inflation and all that. But
Mhm.
it's sort of gotten to the point where I don't know that I can keep collecting steelbooks anymore, and
Okay.
like kind of that's fine. It's to me, it's a sort of a privilege to collect movies, and
Hmm.
it should never be an addiction, or it should never be
Hmm.
something that causes somebody financial distress.
Yeah, yeah.
So to me, I'm totally fine. Like steelbooks when I started collecting them, when they were like Blu-ray 3D and Blu-ray, or sometimes just Blu-ray, and they would be like 25 compared to like the 20s. I'll spend the extra $5, and then they became 30 instead of 25,
Yeah.
or instead of something, and it was like, okay, like I'm still, and then it became like 35, but they would have the 4K disc in them, or I think it was 30, and then they became 35, but that was kind of my ceiling.
Mhm.
There was a couple that came out there near the end of Best Buy's run, like the Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, that they were
Oh,
selling
yeah.
for like $42
Yeah.
American,
Yeah, yeah,
obviously.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
That's still expensive for
that's
us,
too much,
converting that.
especially like
Yeah.
now. Here's the thing: I would pay $42 for some steelbooks. Dune, Blade Runner, 2049,
Yep.
Avengers Endgame. You know, like not necessarily like the Blade Runner 2049 one is one of my favorites, but yeah, I'm just thinking like
Yeah.
certain ones I would spend.
Hmm.
Certainly not something Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, especially when you saw the artwork and it was just bland and boring.
Yeah.
So
They were trying to recoup some of their cinema losses, I would imagine, with that type of price point.
probably, yeah. So, but it's one of those where it's like it's gotten worse though too, where like again 35 is kind of my ceiling, and it would have to be a 4K if it was going to be 35 as well.
Mm.
But the like for like the first movie that I noticed, so Amazon, like I said, Amazon's been doing some, but for Inside Out 2, Amazon does this thing where whenever they list things, they list it for astronomically high, and then
Hmm.
progressively the
Yeah.
price goes down.
Yeah.
And Inside Out 2 was essentially like only Amazon. And so it was listed at like $67.
Jeez.
And everybody was like, oh, that's just the pre order price. It always goes down by the time it actually releases. It's just the way Amazon does things. And it didn't. Or it might have gotten down to like $51 or something. And look, I really liked Inside Out 2,
Yeah.
but probably 35 is my cap for that. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh or and it looks like it's not just that one particular example, because Pixar and Disney, and they
Hmm.
know that people are going to buy that, so
Yeah. That's it. They're looking for collection completists, with all the
exactly, and
Pixars and yeah.
they'll sell out, and they did sell
Mm.
out.
Mm.
So but at the same time, like they have a steelbook coming out for Alien Romulus that was
Yes.
also like 50 or so, and then I think it's dropped a little bit, but it's still like 43 or so is probably the lowest I saw it. And again, it's like
Yeah.
I
That's
really
close to
liked Alien Romulus, but at one point do I, especially since I don't have Alien or Aliens or Prometheus on Steelbook, I do have the Alien Covenant Steelbook. But at what point do you just go like, well, you know what? A regular 4K is fine. And you mentioned the prices too.
yeah.
Normally Black Fridays, like
Yeah.
$10 4Ks are not that
Wow.
uncommon.
Okay.
But it's
Wouldn't
it's
that be
usually not
pretty?
your new release stuff. But
Yeah. I
you know,
mean, Black Friday, he's going to be, I can't really remember what goes on Black Friday here. I know we have sales, but it's generally like a 30% off sale. So a $10,
yeah.
$10 4K is like hen's teeth that they're just never seen.
Yeah, a lot of like the new release stuff will be like maybe 15 or so. I mean, and not obviously not everything's on sale, but like
Mm.
yeah. Probably $10, that price point that I'm looking for getting Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny when I get it. And of course, it won't be a steelbook at this point, but
Yeah, yeah.
I'm also fine to wait on that movie. And the other thing too is like, it'll be on a streamer for now, which I know is like sort of contrary to what I said
Well,
earlier, but it's like, it's on a streamer for now. Especially that
did
one, I'm pretty confident will always be on Disney, or whoever has the rights to Lucasfilm stuff.
did you see
Um,
who dropped Disney dropped or the first four indies from their service worldwide?
I did not know
Because
that.
yeah, because
They
the
probably
whole
contracted it out to like Paramount or Peacock or
well
something.
They're actually Paramount anyway, so I think Paramount have just taken them
Oh,
back.
that's true.
Yeah, yeah.
That makes
So
sense.
even though it's Lucasfilm, it's still Paramount
Well,
licensing.
yeah,
So
Paramount distributed those first four.
yeah.
Yeah. Either way, like, I'm not rushing to see Dial of Destiny again, and it was fine.
Oh yeah, I liked it. I was better than
Um,
Crystal Skull. And I'd
so
watch it before I watch Crystal Skull again.
yeah, so it's just getting to that price point where it's just like I don't think we're
Mm,
gonna see too much of them. Even the Cameron released Aliens and True
mm,
Lies and The Abyss earlier this year
mm.
on 4K, and they just
Yeah.
haven't dropped in price. And I've been waiting,
Is that
but like
right?
I have a Blu-ray of Aliens.
Yeah.
I'm fine waiting, and you know what? Like I've got enough things to see. I can wait until I can find a copy of The Abyss for a little cheaper,
Yeah.
or True Lies, and I'll get them when I can find them, but especially now that there's not really any stores that carry it. Walmart carries them, but they kind of
Hmm.
only carry some of the new stuff now. Like it's like they're just buying some of
Right.
they're not carrying just a massive collection. And I know specifically like that Aliens and True Lies were like pretty much exclusively being sold through Zavi and Amazon and like
Okay.
back ordered for a lot of the time. So we'll see if a Black Friday sale, and I'll try to get them or something.
It's going to be interesting to see how now that Sony have the physical media rights to Disney stuff, what they start to bring out because Disney are just notoriously bad at with their physical media. Well, they turn bad. So and yeah, you're going to see price points go up there because now they're putting Dolby Vision on all their 4Ks as well. I'm not sure if you heard about
I
that.
did
So
see that, yeah. I
yeah,
don't particularly notice that kind of stuff. I don't
mm,
know, like maybe one of these days I will, or maybe if you showed me a side by side or whatnot. I don't know. But like the whole
yeah,
like even like I have a friend that he hates because he wants to collect, but he just can't ever justify buying the Disney 4K because they're not in the IMAX ratio, but they are in the IMAX ratio on Disney Plus. So he's like, I would never watch it on disc over on
yeah.
Disney Plus
It's,
until then. And I'm
that's
like, I
strange
just
to me.
don't notice that kind of stuff.
No, no, I could care less about the IMAX ratio stuff because people were complaining here, well, worldwide, I'd say when June 2 was being released on disc,
Yep.
and we're like, are we getting the IMAX? Are we getting the IMAX? And I was like, Warner said, no, we're not. And people picked up a fuss. It's like, what are you going to see? A bit more sky and a bit more sand. Like that's all you're seeing. Who cares? Like,
Right.
I mean, that
I
means
look,
nothing to me.
I go to the IMAX for the sound,
Yeah,
for the
okay.
sound mostly. And sure, a massive screen helps, but I've got massive
Mm,
screens elsewhere. I don't go
yeah,
for the extra,
bit
extra
of sky.
the margins that
Yeah,
typically don't do too much. And I don't live by a laser IMAX, like I live by just a standard IMAX. Maybe it'd be different if I
yeah,
was like you know, could live in the like ridiculously like the proper ones. So,
yeah.
but I go to IMAX for the sounds mostly
So I'm
because
talking
the
about.
sound quality is just unparalleled.
I mean, my point of view, I've never actually been to an IMAX theatre
Hmm.
because there's only two real ones in Australia, and they're nowhere near me. I'm not going to buy flights to go and watch a movie. But just watching it on TV at home, you get the IMAX enhanced on Disney Plus. It doesn't add anything to me. It just doesn't add a thing. So I'm not going to fuss when the disc doesn't have that. And the fact that people do is foreign to me, actually. Yeah.
I mean, like, cool. What you should have access to watch the movie however you want. It's just not something I particularly notice.
Mm,
So the Dolby Vision, I don't have a sound system capable of running Dolby Atmos or anything. So like I don't
okay.
care. I'm looking for 4K quality, high
Hmm.
dynamic range.
Yeah.
I'm looking for like smooth, vivid colors. I have a QLED TV.
Hmm.
I'm looking for colors that jump off the screen. I'm looking
Yeah.
for, again, smoothness. I'm looking for, like, and probably a bad take. I want my movies to be restored, remastered. Sorry,
Yeah.
remastered, not restored. I know that there are some people, like, and I think this was a criticism of the Cameron re-releases, is
Yeah.
it, for like Aliens and True Lies and all that. I believe from what I've like looked into it a little bit, some people have been like praising them because they didn't remaster them. They
Right.
sort of upscaled them.
There's a lot of
But like it still has some grain and it still has the feel of the era it came out with. I want I think that The Godfather Part 1, the restoration for the 4K is remarkable. And maybe the best transfer ever. The sound is way it looks like it could come out
yeah,
today. So and especially like there was no good way to watch The Godfather at home before that. The sound quality was terrible.
yeah,
The sound editing was terrible. I'd literally have to turn my TV up as loud as it goes, and then gunfire would happen, and you
right.
have to turn it down to as low as it
Yeah,
was.
yeah, I
A
hate that. Yeah,
nightmare. The
yeah.
4K is brilliant to me. So it's like
Mm.
I want to see, movies restored.
You kind
So
of lead on to my next question, to be honest, with a lot of that talk, because I mean, my next question is, what are the best transfers you own? And I just kind of wanted to add. Well, I'll let you answer that first. What are the best transfers that you
well,
think you
like I
have?
said, I think the Godfather, specifically the first part, is really incredible. Especially too because there's things where it's like part of that original, the first Godfather, like did have some things that like because nobody expected it to be as important or as widely acclaimed as it
Yeah,
was. Like
yeah,
it was,
yeah.
there was a little bit less care taken of the original
hmm
stuff versus like when part two came out, it was a little bit easier to restore some stuff. But so I think that whole collection is restored really well, but I think specifically one is a really noticeable difference. And quick shameless plug, I did an interview with the guy who restored the Godfather trilogy on the podcast, on the Hip Hop Writers Room
Yeah,
podcast, and he
yeah.
did a couple other stuff. So he works for Coppola and did some restoration of his films. So
There's been a few Coppola's come out in 4K recently. I guess you would have done the conversation and one from the heart and
it's
stuff, I
been
imagine.
since the Godfather ones came out. I don't remember. I remember he was talking about a couple of different projects, a couple of different movies that he was working on that were some of the lesser known Coppolas. But yeah, and I apologize. I don't remember his name off the top of my head.
That's
I
okay.
remember it was. I've done a couple of interviews. I want to say, but I think I'm wrong that it's Jason Reich, something along those lines.
That actually rings a bell. Is it while you're looking that up? I mean, I just wanted to. I mean, the best transfers for me are always films that have been shot on film, actual film. They always seem to turn out the best if they're looked after right. And you're talking about the Cameron releases of True Lies, and then I've heard nothing but bad things about True Lies with the waxy look on the faces, and it was AI that did the restoration of that. So yeah. So I mean, I actually have the True Lies, and I still have not put it in to check it
yeah,
out. So yeah, I need to do that.
I was wrong, and that's why I'm happy I looked it up. James Bukowski is the one
Well,
who did them. He's a film archivist, and he works for
hmm,
the Coppola's production thing. He did the Godfather trilogy and Apocalypse Now, and then I'm sure did the
yep.
one since. But that if you're looking in the Sif Pop Writers Room podcast feed, that would have been before episode 113. I mean, we
hmm
just posted like 220 something, so it's been quite literally
It's
2.5 years. So
right. Yeah, I'll have to go back and
um,
check that out because I don't think I did at the time, but it'll be interesting
yeah.
to listen to.
It's one of my favorite conversations, especially because like I kind of came in there as a nobody, and what do you do? Walk me through this. We talked a
Mm,
little bit about film integrity and film preservation and stuff like that, and then I took
yeah,
some like
nice.
questions. I want to listen to it again too, but I would say The Godfather is one of my favorites. I think quite possibly my favorite disc that I own. I think that both Avengers: Infinity War and Endgame look remarkable on 4K
hmm
disc.
Yeah.
I don't think that all the MCU movies do particularly, but I think
Yeah.
especially such a cosmic focused one, just the way
Lots of
both of
lots of
those
bold
movies,
colors.
they just look incredible.
Yeah.
I think I remember specifically like Infinity War, like when it came out on 4K, like I had some friends coming over in a couple of days, and I couldn't believe how good it looked. So I had to
Mm.
show it to them. So yeah, I mean, I would say that those would be the ones off the top of my head. Yeah,
Mm.
I'm sure there's a few others. There's some that I know. I don't necessarily upgrade to 4K, especially recently since Best Buy closed or stopped selling. They're closed to me, you know.
A lot of people
Yeah,
say that. Like I'm in a lot of forums online, and yeah, most
yeah.
people still butthurt about Best Buy closing the physical media, and like so, yeah. There's Dave saying, yeah, they're dead to me as well. They don't go in there anymore. So yeah,
I can't necessarily remember any others off the top of my head at the moment,
okay,
but
That's all right.
I'm sure. I'm sure if I thought about it long and hard, I'm really excited. I have a pre-order out for the Zavi has a 4K Terminator coming out, the first Terminator,
Yes.
which
Yeah.
will be the first time ever on 4K,
Mm.
and boy, does it need it.
Yeah, I'm hoping
So
we get that in Australia because it's not a Disney title from memory, so we should get it at some point, hopefully. But yeah, I'll be looking forward to that. I do have a Blu-ray of that.
I have a Blu-ray, and it looks like, straight up butt. So
Does it? I'm
I'm
gonna put it
hoping
in.
that the 4K looks better, and I'm more hoping, like,
It'll
I'm
have
more
to.
excited because it's got some really incredible cover art.
Yeah, yeah, cool. So we did touch on a little bit before when we're talking about how you buy your stuff. But do you have any favorite labels or distributors? I know you talk about Criterion a bit. Is there anyone else that
Hmm.
you
I
think you
think
guys are spoiled over there?
right, right. I mean, honestly, I really like just anybody that's putting out movies, frankly.
Yeah, yeah.
I would say yes, I'm a big Criterion fan. And then I was like dipping off a little bit, but then they started coming out with 4Ks, and I was like, okay,
Hmm.
great. It's still like I I sort of like how Criterion has also become less exclusive. Like it used to be, if a
Yeah.
movie was in the collection, like you couldn't buy it on Vudu, you couldn't buy it on iTunes, you couldn't buy it on a regular disc or anything like that. Like, and I remember
Mm.
that was my experience because somebody had recommended the movie Blowout, and that was the
Oh
first
yeah.
Criterion I ever bought because that was the only way to watch it. And so eventually I dropped the $20 on it or whatever. And then I was like, I guess this is the only way to get these. And you know what? That's fine. They're packed with extras. They always look
Hmm.
remarkable. And,
Hmm.
I love all the bonus features and stuff like that. So, yeah, I would say I'm a big fan of Criterion. I'm a big fan as well of Arrow Video. I think they do some great
Yeah,
things. They're a
nice.
little bit less consistent in terms of quality. I feel like I hear more about Arrow recalls than I do like Criterion recalls or
Ah.
anything like that. Like I remember your favorite movie of all time, 12 Monkeys.
Mm.
I have the Arrow 4K of that, and I actually don't think I've seen it since. But like their
Ah.
first batch, like it has like a little it's like a 1 second that just gets like repeated or something like that. They did a whole recall for it or
Yes.
something. So I
Yeah, it
feel like
does.
it's their quality control department is probably just a little bit let
Mm.
some things slip through the
A little bit
crack
lazy.
more than something like Criterion. But I also remember when Criterion released Citizen Kane on 4K, they had to recall all those, which was the first ever 4K they did. So
Yeah, wow.
I'm not just being a fanboy here. But I
That's
like Arrow
become more
Video
common.
stuff a lot.
That's pretty cool
I think
because Titanic also had an issue that came out lately, and then there's a recent one called The Hitcher that has a problem as well. Yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
Honestly, I might have to say my current favorite label would be Kino Lorber. I think they do some really good stuff.
yeah. Thank you.
Oh, look,
That,
it's probably neck and neck between Kino Lorber and Shout Factory slash Screen Factory.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Uh, I'm a big fan of Kino Lorber. I like how it's simple packaging, but the
Mm-hmm,
spines are consistent, which is good.
mm-hmm.
I like that
Their own font.
it's have their own font. They have their own, like, it's if
Yeah.
I don't sort my movies by label, I just sort them alphabetically.
Mm.
And so they kind of mix and match, but it's nice to know if I bought, let's just say, Rambo First Blood Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3, that it would like look consistent, because that's like the
Yes.
one
Yeah.
thing, especially when you look at like the MCU one, it's so obvious because Disney was distributing them, and then those
Yeah.
Spider-Man ones were distributed by Sony,
Sony. Yeah.
and there's a clear quality difference and just thematic difference and everything. So yeah, like consistency is great. Or even like the Indiana Jones ones. I have the 4-pack steelbook set that they had when they came out with it.
Okay.
It's white cases, it's minimalistic art, it's incredible. And then they released Isle of Destiny, and it wasn't gonna match that at all. And I'm like,
Mm.
why? Why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
also like wasn't encouraging me to buy it. But so big fan of Kino Lorber, Shout slash Scream Factory
Mm.
also are just my go-tos. And I think a big reason why is it's an affordable price point as well.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I
That's
think
what
they
I'm
go
about
run for
Kino.
about like 25, 27. You can
Mm.
find them on sale for 20 every now and then.
Yep.
It's
But
it's not like Criterion's, which are typically priced at like 27, and you can find them for quote unquote half off because it's half off the
yeah.
Barnes and Noble
Yeah. Yeah.
and Criterion,
So
which is
50
forty
becomes 20.
dollars.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So it's nice, it's affordable. It usually has like multiple discs in it, and
Hmm.
it's not bulky packaging, and yeah, I like it.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned Kano because they would be my favorite for, well, yeah, one of the price point. I always think their quality is great. Like their 4K transfers are always fantastic.
You
And
just watched Return of the Living Dead for the first, at least
yeah,
logged on Letterbox.
was that last night? Might have been yesterday, actually. Yeah.
Was that a Kino distributed, I think?
No, I watched that on Amazon Prime, actually.
Oh, okay. I have a
Yeah,
disc. I don't remember if it's Kino. I think it's Scream Factory. Anyway.
right. Yeah, I'm well behind in those Living Dead movies. That most of those. So
Oh, it was a
yeah,
first
because
watch for me earlier this year.
yeah, and
Not
it
for the
was fun.
podcast, just for fun. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a fun movie.
yeah, they're fun movies, and I like those old '80s horrors just for the practical effects. And Return of the Living Dead had some funky
Well,
animatronic. It was
yeah,
great.
yeah, the practical effects, the funky animatronics, and
Yeah,
boy, everybody just knows their role.
yeah.
What's the girl's name? Quigley, something Quigley.
Oh, no idea.
It's like
That was yesterday. My memory's not good for
Liana.
yesterday. Yeah, oh, I'm going to take
Um,
your word for it. I really don't know.
like
I'd have to look it up.
she is owning that role. She is like just owning the like I'm the girl of the group of
Yeah,
this punk group in this horror
she's the one that got
trope.
naked. Yeah, is that the one? That one?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. She
Like she's
dominates
just
this,
like
not
she
just because she's
owns it, and
naked.
she feels so comfortable in her own skin and her body.
Mm,
It's awesome.
yeah,
I love it.
yeah.
So
No, good. Yeah, it's yeah, lots of fun. You've kind of pre-answered a lot of my questions, but I'm going to ask this one anyway
yep.
because there might be some more to expand on. How do you organize your collection? Is it pure? I mean, I know you said you separate your steel books, but everything else is just purely alphabetical.
Oh no, I don't separate steelbooks. I only did it for the MCU because
Ah, okay.
yeah, everything else is alphabetical. Numbers go before, and
Yep.
then if I have any variety packs that aren't specifically like I have the Cornetto trilogy on 4K just in one
Yeah.
sleeve, so that just
Yep.
goes in Cornetto. But
Same.
I have one
Yeah.
that's Harold and Kumar 1, 2, 3 and Beer Fest.
Oh, yeah.
Not just Harold and Kumar, so that
Yeah.
just goes at the very end. And I also have a 4 pack that's like Snakes on. No, I think it's a 3 pack. It's Snakes on a Plane, Long Kiss Goodnight, Deep Blue Sea. So that just goes at the
Yeah.
end.
Yeah.
Or even something like that. So, but other than that, just alphabetically, numbers go first. So my collection starts with I have the whole James Bond collection. So it starts with 007.
Oh, yeah.
And then
You,
even things like I remember posing a question because with the release of Alien Romulus, do you organize by chronological
yeah, you did
or do you
ask
go
this
by
question.
like
Yeah.
chronological in universe? And so I'm still not sure what I'm going to do with that because as of right now, I only have Alien, Aliens, Prometheus, and Alien Covenant, and that's how I have it ordered. But I'm
Right.
probably going to wind up
It would be last for me. It comes after P. So Romulus comes after Prometheus. Yeah.
I'm probably gonna wind up doing like I know this makes no sense to do it this way, but I'm probably gonna wind up doing sort of chronological, except because I don't have, nor do I plan on getting Alien 3 or Resurrection. I might
hmm
put Romulus after Aliens, or it'll go between Alien, but I'll probably go like in universe chronological
Okay.
because otherwise you're just jumping over the timeline. So, like for example, for the X-Men movies, like I have them in universe chronological. Well, that one's actually the weirdest of them all because they have them in universe chronological up to the reboot. So
Right.
I have it X-Men Origins, Wolverine, and then X-Men, X-Men 2, X-Men 3. But then I go First Class. But then I have
Okay.
the Wolverine, and then Days of Future Past because the Wolverine has that setup for Days of Future Past in it. So
Oh,
it's essentially release order except for X-Men Origins Wolverine at the
yeah.
beginning. I
I
would
love
never
that.
watch it in that order, but so that's what I would go for. Oh, and Logan kind of caps it off at the end. I don't
Ah,
own
yes.
X-Men Apocalypse or
hmm
Dark Phoenix, nor do I plan on it, or
New
New
Mutants
Mutants
either, wasn't
either.
it? Yeah. I love the way you
Um,
do that. That's really fascinating how yeah, it's very different. Well, it's different to the
I,
way anyone else I hear.
I would love to put First Class and Days of Future Past in a place that like feels a little bit more fitting, but I mean that
Mm.
timeline's so so I guess like for example, I have the only Rambo movies that I own on disc are the first one and Rambo 4. I have 2, 3, and 5 on digital, not disc. So I have them at First Blood and then Rambo. Like I don't have them, but if I had all of them, I would put them probably under Rambo and then put them all chronologically. So also like for example, Doctor Sleep is enough of a sequel to The Shining that I have it just after The Shining. So I don't know, I take exceptions to the rules. I don't know that I actually have any
Yeah,
consistency other than
yeah.
just like you
It's
know,
very hard
A
to
through
be.
Z. Yes, especially
It's
in the
very hard
era
to be
of
completely
legacy
consistent.
sequels. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
you know.
absolutely.
So yeah, I go just A through Z, numbers at the beginning, variety packs at the end, everything in the middle, and then I just use my best judgment to like I said, even for like Cornetto trilogy, I put it as if it was Cornetto trilogy on the spine, even though it's not. Or I have the four Jack Ryan movies, the Hunt for Red October, Patriot Games, Clear and
Ah,
Present Danger,
yes.
and
Yeah.
Sum of All Fears. I don't have the terrible Chris Pine one, so I
Hmm.
have them under Jack Ryan.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I had him in a box set that was Jack Ryan collection, and then I upgraded him to 4K, and I just kept it that way. Those
See,
movies don't matter if you watch them chronologically, but you know,
at the start, but when I spoke to Robert, I asked him the same question. He said he was talking about the Bond movies too, and he said I know people who put them under 007, some people put them under B. I had mine just at the time I spoke to Robert. What he said gave me an idea and convinced me to change it. So I put my Daniel because I only have the basically the old DVDs of them, and I have the Bond, the Craig ones on 4K. Everything else I own digitally. So I put them on the B for Bond, and I'm now you've said that I'm like I probably should put them on the 007. That should come first in the list.
to me, it's
Got
just
me
like
thinking.
you could file them under Bond, you could file them under James Bond or
Mm,
anything. I just think the most consistent would be 007, and especially because my
yeah, I'm
spines do
agreeing
say
with that.
007, the James Bond
Yeah.
collection, or like like there's some things that just don't make sense. For example, I don't have the Hobbit under Hobbit. I have it right before Lord of the Rings.
Hmm.
I think I initially had them there, and then I eventually changed it. It's the same
So do you have them
filmmaker.
individually or a box set? Are they new?
I
Are they?
actually, all right, so I bought the Hobbit trilogy individually from Family Video, which is just a video rental store that would sell you the discs after they were,
Mhm.
not really getting rented too much. But if I wanted to buy a Blu-ray, they would give you just the Blu-ray disc in the case, not the Blu-ray
Right.
and the DVD. But it was like $8, for a movie that had been out for like a month or something like that. So,
Hmm.
great,
Wow.
awesome.
Yeah.
Perfect price to pay for, I mean, for the Hobbit movies, especially like right after they came out. So because I only had the Blu-rays, I wound up having like a spare Blu-ray case that could fit like three or so discs in it. Actually, I think two of them have like a bonus features disc.
Ah.
So I actually just condensed them all to one case for a for a space saving measure. So I
Okay.
have it's like all the three Hobbit movies, just the Blu-rays in one spine, and I
Hmm.
think I put the Desolation of Smaug as the cover one because it's the
Yeah.
best cover. And then I have the Hobbit trilogy on 4K, but I also kept Lord of the Rings trilogy on 4K, but I also kept my Lord of the Rings trilogy on Blu-ray because the 4K box set didn't come with Blu-ray discs, and
Mm.
I'm still at a point where like 4K is not common enough for me to if they're movies that I like enough, obviously I'd like to see them on 4K, but
Yeah.
if we were traveling or if I wanted to like my parents don't have a 4K player.
Yeah.
They live
Yeah.
4 hours away, but I don't know that I could just lend it to a friend and trust that they have a 4K player.
Yeah.
So even like I bought the Matrix trilogy on
Hmm.
4K in a steelbook,
Yeah.
but they don't have the Blu-rays in them. So I
Yeah.
kept my Blu-ray. Especially it was like a four pack.
Yeah.
It had the three movies and the Animatrix. So it was like I can justify that. So
You give me another
I
idea.
don't try to keep duplicates though.
You give me other ideas because when you initially started saying that you condensed your hobbits down into one pack, I'm like, that's sacrilege. You've got to keep them in how the order you got them. But for space saving, which is really important when you get your collection growing, I have a lot of spare Blu-ray cases with triples, so I might have to look at my collection, start condensing as
I
well.
mean,
Because
it's not perfect or anything, but again,
what?
people watching the Hobbit movies,
Yeah, well, I have the
um,
box set, the 4K box set, and it's still in its cellophane. I haven't opened it because I kind of
uh,
really only watched the Lord of the Rings, avoid
because
them
of
each
Family
year.
Video, none of them had the slips, so I didn't have to worry about them or anything.
I mean, like
Um,
the inside slips of the cover,
oh,
like
I just
just
put them in.
so
I just put them
three,
all in the
yeah,
binding.
just
Yep.
stacked them in.
And then
Yeah,
that way I could also move them around as much as I'd like. But
I like this. I'm glad we're talking because
but
you're
like I
helping
do,
me out.
I've done that. And then actually, I try not to collect multiples for movies, but there's been a
Hmm.
couple of cases that I've done it. Usually because let me tell you of a brand that I don't know if you're aware of, but you need to be
Mm.
Mondo.
No, never heard of Mondo.
I don't know how active they are anymore, but they have made some of the best steelbooks there are to date.
Okay.
Specifically, look up the Toy Story one and the Looper one. They're remarkable.
Oh, okay.
Again, I don't know how much they've been working in the past, but because they're also like UK based, they don't like distribute in the US,
Oh,
which means that they won't play on players in the US unless you
okay.
buy a region free one, which I don't
Yep.
have.
Yep.
But I did so I have the steelbook for Toy Story and for Looper. Now I think they work in my Xbox anyway, but I have the 4K disc for each of them. So I keep the 4K for this, or so for that's two examples, and then I also have like Oppenheimer. That steelbook was
Oh, okay.
impossible to find when it came out, so I just bought
Mm.
the Walmart Icon edition, which I really liked, and it's condensed and all
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
But then I was walking around a Walmart one day and I noticed the steelbook there for $30, and I had to
Mm.
buy it, so I did
Okay.
because I mean that was like I believe that was the last one out in the wild, you know. So.
Yeah, they
Um,
did reprint them they actually, because they were obviously underestimated the demand for those.
yeah.
I yeah, wish
I
I had
don't
a home
remember
on
them
my sticker.
reprinting it, but I didn't have to worry about trying to find one, you know.
No.
So,
So what did you do with
um,
your spare of that then? Did you keep the Walmart edition as well?
well, so yeah, so for some of them, I would just get rid of whatever I had, or I have a couple Titans of Cult. I really like what they do.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I have the original, the 2018 Halloween, and I have the Pacific Rim Titans of Cults. So if it's a movie that I already have, like I might like just swap it out, you know. But I really like the Icon edition of Oppenheimer. So what I want to I have the extras that are steel books, just kind of off to the side right now, sort of in my collection in a place that like is not in my stacks, but is close and you can see and anybody could easily pull them out and see them. But what I would like to do is I got this information. There's a guy I follow on TikTok. His account is Steelbook Obsessed,
Yeah.
and he
Yep.
shows off all these things.
I
So
think I
he
follow that guy, yeah.
also a fellow Iowan. He lives
Hmm.
about an hour and a half from me. He so what he has is he has 16 like little magnetic things that he puts on his wall, and then he
Hmm.
changes his movies out just to be on display per the season. So in October he'll change them out and he'll put a bunch of horror
Okay.
movies up there. You know, if
Like
there's a
he's
new like Marvel movie coming out, he'll put a bunch of Marvel movies on the wall, or a new Pixar, he'll put a bunch of Pixar's on the
gotcha.
wall. So I'd like to do that. I bought some magnet sheets from his Amazon bio thing. They're really cheap, except instead of like I'd like to make it a thing of decoration, but out of the multiples that I have. You know, like if it's a that way Oppenheimer is like in my thing, but then I also like that steelbook I just want to look at all day, you know, or that Looper steelbook from Mondo I just want to look at all day, you know. So
So
yeah,
if I go
so
into Amazon and look up Steelbook Obsessed, would his store come up for me?
I went to TikTok and he's got like a link in his bio and he's got like affiliate
TikTok
things.
shop
So
or
like
something.
I don't it's not TikTok shop, it like leaked me to Amazon. I don't know if like
Right.
if his shop would come up or anything, but it was like six
Okay.
dollars for a pack of like 10 of them or something. And I'm like,
Oh, okay.
I'm just gonna take the extras. Like for example, I also when The Godfather came out on 4K, I just got the box set because the steel books are like
Mm.
25 bucks a piece or 30 or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, eventually they weren't as popular as I think people thought they were going to be, and they were selling them for 10 a piece, so I bought all three. And I kept my box set because it had all the different cuts of Godfather Part 3 and it had some
Hmm.
like a little bit of extra special features mostly for the Godfather Part 3.
Yeah.
And so I was going to put the steelbooks up on the wall. But after recently watching The Godfather Part 3 again, I just thought, I don't care about the different cuts of this movie. It's a bad movie
Mm.
regardless. And I'm not interested in watching it,
I've not
to
seen
notice.
Godfather 3. I
It's
love
fun.
1 and 2, but I do need to check it out.
You can totally skip it, and you'll be
Mm.
fine the rest of your life. But also, I don't know. I was told it was terrible my whole life, and I don't know. I kind of liked it the first time I saw it. That's not half bad. And then I
Yeah.
watched it again, and I was like, oh no, this is that bad. Like so anyway, so eventually I got rid of the box set because I don't care to own three cuts of that movies and the special
Yeah.
features, the extra special features are mostly on that. So and that is actually the box set only had the 4Ks and the steelbooks only had the 4Ks. But and when I got the box set on 4K, I did get rid of my Blu-rays because I had a friend that just bought them off me for cheap.
Okay.
So it was kind of one of those like win-win situations. But also I would have sold the Blu-rays because just the sound quality is terrible on them. So.
Is it? Okay. So I guess just touching on that, you're talking about, so you are big on special features? Are you, do you watch the special features? Is it something that you seek on a release?
My wife more, but I love special features. I just don't
Hmm.
often find the time for them.
Mm.
Usually when I'm like budgeting my time to watch a movie or something like that, I'm only
Yep.
budgeting for the movie. But it's one of those where like I so badly want to be a special features guy.
Yeah.
Like every Criterion that I buy, I want to just watch all the extras, and I just forget,
Mm.
and I never have the time.
And read the essays
Especially
and
because
the
it's like you
books
get the
and
time, and I'm like, I usually read the essays, but yeah,
okay.
usually after I've seen the movie.
Yeah.
But I budget sort of my time for to watch a movie, and I think, oh, I'm gonna watch
Mm.
this movie in 2 hours, not
Mm.
and I don't think about, oh, whatever special feature. But I do, if I like a movie enough, or it happens to be when I have some free time or whatever, especially if my wife's around because she's more special features person, and we'll sit down and watch them. Like I think the last time we really did it, I mean, my wife just did it recently. She rewatched The Martian,
Hmm.
and she did some special feature watches, and I was around.
Okay.
I, she was like in the middle of the movie when I got back from work and whatnot. So,
It's kind
but
of the
I think the
ballad of the collector, though. Like, well, everyone I've spoken to is like, "Yeah, I love special features, but I don't generally have the time to watch them. It's just good to have for one day."
yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to have for, one day when when I can afford to take a vacation, or like I guess a
Mm.
staycation, like to just take some
Mm.
time off of work and watch movies, and or retirement age or whatnot. Like I cannot wait to be the audio commentary guy, especially like
Yeah.
on certain ones, and there are some that are supposed to be legendary, like just
Mm.
like the people that are just having fun.
Armageddon one sounds all right, actually.
The or like any of the James Gunn ones. Like I want to
Hmm.
listen to any of the audio commentaries, or especially any fun movies. I'm sure it's great, but I don't really care to watch any audio commentaries on The Godfather, or
Yeah.
whatnot.
Yeah.
But I but boy, let me tell you, I really want to watch a The Suicide Squad audio commentary. So yeah, so like it's one of those where it's like there's just not enough time.
Yeah,
I would
exactly.
like to get, and probably will one day get, whenever I move and have a little bit more space, I'll get that like Lord of the Rings box set that has like each of them has like 15 hours of special features on
Yeah.
them or whatnot,
Yeah.
that Lord of the Rings fans swear by. But then I
Hmm.
got to find 15 hours to watch it, and I can barely find three to watch a movie, or to
Yeah.
watch one of them. So I love special features. The last time I can remember like specifically sitting down and watching them was Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Okay.
So, but that's one of those movies where you're like, I need to know everything that they thought about when,
Yeah.
like, that's one that I want to do the audio commentary on. Or boy, I can't remember what
Mm.
movie it was. There's one that's really famous for having an audio commentary, where like one of the people were like referring to another person like by the wrong name the entire time, sort of
Oh,
deliberately.
really?
Boy, I don't remember. But it's supposed to be just wickedly funny. I know I have this movie and I have the commentary. I just
All
like
right.
it. I just can't remember which one it is.
I don't know why, but it sounds like a Paul Rudd thing to do or a Will Ferrell thing to do.
It's kind of in that vein. I'll look it up.
While they're doing that, do you have any regrets? Do you have anything that you've brought that you regret buying?
Oh, all the time. Yeah. But I mean, just regrets aren't, just whatever. I don't, like I said, I
No,
don't
no.
spend too much money in it.
Yeah,
So
that's what I was going to say. Not necessarily because the movie might be bad, maybe because you overpaid and then you didn't like the movie, or yeah, like there's lots of different ways you can have regrets, I suppose.
yeah, like I said, I have a ton of regrets about the whole thing about the podcast that we're doing right now on the Hip Hop
Mm.
Writer Room is watching movies, and I'm specifically doing it to try to find movies like that I can get rid of my collection,
Mm.
and not really. I'm doing it because I realized one day my Letterboxd watch list was like 500 or something like that. I'm like, that's too many.
Yeah.
So I wanted to whittle it down, and then I also figured I have so many movies, and so many of them I haven't seen or haven't seen in a while. I'd love to have an excuse to see them, But also, I don't mind, when I watched Tombstone for the first time, I was like, you know what? Sorry, it's just not for me, and it went in the
Hmm.
pile. And Mandy was a movie that wasn't for me, and we
Yeah,
already
yeah.
talked about Bram Stoker's Dracula, and some ones that it's like, okay, obviously, Aaron, obviously that was a bad call. But like I said, I don't take it too seriously, especially because I don't spend too much money. Some of the Criterion blind buys, just because those are not the cheapest, but I think the only
Yeah.
Criterion I've ever bought and not kept was 8.5.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So
I can understand that. I've seen 8.5 and I was like, what's the fuss about?
it's for filmmakers.
Yeah. Yeah.
and filmmakers love it, and that's great, and I'm happy for
Yeah.
them. But
Yep.
I don't personally care to see it again. And but yeah, it was just one of those where I'm like, well, all these filmmakers love it. It must be great. I'm
Mm.
okay doing a blind buy, and that was the one criterion that I probably actually regret, at least up to this point. Every other one has been, a hit though. So yeah, I mean, like obviously I have regrets all the time, but like I just don't invest enough money to be mad about it.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Maybe
Did
some
you?
of the MCU steelbooks that I paid $35 for only to sell later, just because I wanted to be a
Yeah.
completionist.
But I reckon if you did hang on to that, like I mean, this isn't a question I have prepared, but do you think it's worth hanging on to some stuff that you might be able to sell for more down the track? Like when you maybe, you never know, you might need emergency money one day. Because I mean, I was thinking when you were talking about you have Iron Man on Steelbook. I know there's Australian collectors because we don't get Steelbooks like that. That would just they would clamber over themselves to buy them off you.
I mean, look, there's some. Here's the thing: if you really want to go down that path, that's how people get to hoarding.
Yeah, fair.
Like I bought one time because they were sold out. Like you couldn't buy them online, and I saw a couple of them in store. But when Zack Snyder's Justice League came out on disc, and Best
Mm,
Buy had some steelbooks, I don't like that movie, either cut. I bought two of them because I'm like, okay, it's a collector's item, and then surely the other one I spent 35 on, I'm surely I could sell it for 60 on eBay or something like that. Sealed, unopened, whatever. And it didn't sell. Nobody was interested, and because apparently Best Buy wasn't having them online, but most stores were carrying them,
yeah.
and just they weren't showing up online for some reason, whatever. Anyway, I returned them. I went back and I brought back my receipt and I got my money back for both of them.
Okay.
I just because if you start being like if I had more space on the wall, I would
Yeah, yeah.
I would certainly use it. And sure, to some degree, okay, like
Hmm.
great, use it. But also again, sort of in that curating mindset, who cares, right? Like
Yeah.
I don't want to own movies that I don't like. What I do when I try to like go through my shelves and try to see like what movies I can get rid of, it's do I see myself watching this again?
Yep.
You know,
That's fair.
and I mean, a lot of the movies that I have questions about are just because I haven't seen them or it's been a minute. But there's
Yeah, I
so
mean,
many movies that like I love, and I mean, I'm the kind of guy who I might happen to go
sorry, a bit of
second chance.
I honestly can't remember what I was saying. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, movies second chance. So, do you think I was saying that, sometimes I watch a movie and think it's okay, and then other times it'll be like I really like it a lot more. And the same happens in reverse, where there's a movie I think I love, and then I go, oh, actually, this isn't that good. So, I mean,
I think every movie is worth a second chance, a second glance, things like that. But to me, I think the difference is just what I personally get from movies, what I personally enjoy from them. And so, to me, it's more along the lines of things like, all right, I know I don't need to say 8.5 again. I'm never
yeah,
gonna like that movie. It's not
yeah,
really made for me, and that's okay. Like that's
yeah,
fine.
yeah,
And I don't think somebody should look at me as less of a movie enthusiast because I didn't like a movie,
absolutely not.
or I don't own a movie or anything like that. So
Mm,
like especially one that I think is relatively divisive. I wasn't alone in not liking 8.5.
no, you're not.
So people are either 5 stars or 1 star on that movie, and I fell closer to that 1 star. Like where it's like I can respect it, but it's just not for me. Or even Mandy by Nicolas Cage. I did that for the podcast.
Yeah,
I just didn't particularly like it. It's not my vibe. It's not my
I was the same
um
with that too.
it's not for me. And you know what? I love that movie has an audience. It's just not for me. And that was a 2 hour movie that felt like six to me. I don't have any interest in seeing that
Mm,
again. But I thought to myself too, like some of the movies I was a little bit more iffy on. I could see myself watching Bram Stoker's Dracula again.
yeah,
Absolutely. I could see
yeah.
myself watching Tombstone again. That was one of them that went away. I could absolutely see myself doing some of those again. But at the same time, it's kind of one of those where it's like, luckily we're in a streamer's age. I don't care enough about the movie to make sure I own it. But you know what? Maybe one
Hmm.
of these days I'm really in that mood and I'll find it on Netflix or something and I'll watch it.
Yeah.
Or you know what? I'll pay the $2, call it a storage fee, to rent it or whatever,
Mm,
off of wherever, So, but like, I also think I had another movie that came to mind where it was just like not for me, or I didn't. Oh, I was just thinking I really like The Hitman's Wife or The Hitman's Bodyguard. And so I was really
yeah.
excited when we were getting a sequel, but boy, that sequel's terrible. That was a blind buy. It was
Yeah.
on sale, but it was a blind buy. I kept the first one, and I got rid of the second one about as fast as I could. Same with the Expendables. I have a lot of love for Expendables 1 and 2, and I've grown to like 3 a little bit more, but I still wouldn't say I like it. It's just probably like high side of dislike it or low side of it's okay. But
Okay.
boy, that fourth movie's terrible. No, like
Really? Yeah, it's
it's
still
just
it's a
so
shame.
bad. That is a movie that does not deserve a first watch, let alone a second. So look, I think most movies are worth a second watch. I mean, even when
Mm,
my favorite movie of all time is The Nice Guys. I've been pretty open about that
yes. Yep.
everywhere. When I
Hard to
saw it for the
argue.
first time, I thought that was a great movie. It was,
Hmm.
but I was like, it's probably a little bit too long. It maybe like is a little bit too complex for the kind of movie it's going for, and it's,
Hmm.
maybe like not quite the best paced. And I think all those are probably valid criticisms, but I watched
Mm.
it again and I'm like, I just don't care about any of those things. I'm having
No.
such a good time. And I watched
Yeah,
it again
yeah.
and I'm like, sure, maybe it's a little wonky pace, but it's a comedy that is funny throughout the movie as opposed
Absolutely.
to, having a second act lull or whatever. So it's I mean, it has that, but it's also funny. And it's just like got some of the best chemistry you'll ever see among cast. It's just,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
so certainly, like I think most movies are worth watching more than once because especially the mood, the setting, a million factors go into when and how you watch a movie. Especially as somebody who the primary amount of movie watching that I do is for the podcast that I run, which means a lot of times I don't really get to pick the mood that I'm in when I'm watching it. It's just like
Yep.
we're recording in 2 days to get this podcast out, and I'm working all day Friday or whatever. So it's like I gotta binge these two now, and that
Mm.
sucks that I'm binging, super bad in the thing, but I guess that's what we're coming
No,
to, and
they're two great movies though, in their own right. A weird double
yeah.
feature, but
Well,
they're two great movies.
I wasn't a big fan of the thing, but I'll be watching it again
Ah,
tomorrow,
okay.
within the next 48 hours for sure. So because I have
Ah,
a podcast, so I think a lot of the experience why I didn't like it the first time I watched it is because it was homework to me, and I kind of had to get it
yes.
done.
Yeah.
For that reason alone,
Yep.
yeah, I didn't like Fight Club the first like 2 or 3 times I saw it.
Oh wow.
But I love Fight Club. Maybe just the first time I saw it. I remember actually probably hating it the first time I saw it because I hated it was Fight Club and then it turned into Project Mayhem and then it
Yeah,
did
that
the whole
is.
psychological twist stuff. But then I was like, okay, maybe isn't that why the movie is good? Because it's not just about it's kind of a critique of toxic
Abs-
masculinity, yada yada yada.
yeah,
Anyway,
yeah. Absolutely.
and then I watched it again. I'm like, okay, that's pretty. I probably haven't seen the movie in a while, but I'd say I like it now. Maybe love.
Yeah.
But anyway, I remember hating it the first time I watched it. The first time I saw The Hurt Locker, I thought it was painfully boring,
Yeah.
and now I'm riveted the entire time. Like because I wasn't in the right setting when I watched it.
That's what it
I
takes, right?
was
Yeah.
watching it on a computer screen
Mm.
because here's a new modern military movie that everybody loves, and yeah,
Yeah.
I love that kind of stuff. Hurt Locker is like as intense as things can get, a
Mm.
lot of the time. So
You definitely need to
yeah,
be in the right frame of mind for certain movies. So yeah, that's why then that whole thing led from me just thinking that I do hang on to movies that I've blind brought and thought, oh, it's okay or it's not that great, but I hang on to them to give them another go at some point in the future because it might hit me at the right time. So
and
I,
that's like totally fair to do. I don't want to discourage that, but again, to me,
mm,
that's just like if I did that with every movie, like I wouldn't have
yeah,
space for every movie.
yeah, that's fair too. Yeah,
So
yeah, I'll just stack
my
some in a
my
box.
shelves are already full. I really don't have any room for more, and I haven't been
Mm,
buying a lot recently because again, I already have, and I'm being a little bit
too
more
many.
selective. I'm trying to
Mm,
think even the movies that came out this year that like I said, I bought Dune and Furiosa on Steelbook.
I've got heaps of
Um,
releases from this year. I look at my catalog.
I've bought Dune and Furiosa. When it comes out, I'll buy Strange Darling. Although maybe that might just be on
Yep,
Vudu or something. Because it looks like it's getting just a pretty like bare bones release. I'll buy
4K in 3 or 4 months. So
yeah, probably. I'll buy
yeah.
Alien Romulus for sure. I'll buy Inside Out. The rest of them I'd be fine like doing digital. I'll buy Deadpool and Wolverine when it's affordable.
You're answering my next question
Um,
here too, so that's good.
but yeah, like I'll probably wind up buying Godzilla versus Kong but that one I will for sure want a disc because the visuals. But like I have Drive Away
Yeah.
Dolls on digital. I
Mm.
have Mean Girls on digital. I'll get Twisters and Trap on digital. I have Monkey Man.
Ah,
I'll get My Old Ass. I
that's
have the Fall Guy.
so Twisters
Um,
on digital though. Like Twisters would be amazing on disc. I actually have the steelbook of that
uh,
arriving next week.
that's probably yeah. I mean, that's probably on the border. I don't know. It just I didn't like the movie as much as everybody else.
Okay.
I liked it,
Yeah, I
but
liked it. That was good.
so it's one
So
I just, especially like if you're talking disc, I'm trying to be a little bit more selective in the ones that I am buying. So
yeah, that's totally fair. And I know I'm going to have to start doing that from now on too, because, I'm just, yeah, anyway, for reasons. Because, yeah, like you mentioned at the start, it's becoming a proper addiction. So it needs to stop. So you've just answered my question of what are you looking forward to be released? So is there anything that you want to be released that hasn't got a 4K maybe at the moment?
oh, my easy answer is Glass Onion doesn't have any sort of physical release.
Yes. Great
Uh,
answer.
like
Great
any
answer.
of the Netflix movies that don't have,
Mm,
like there's a couple of the Netflix ones that do
yeah.
have Criterion releases, like Power of the Dog and Beast of No Nation and some stuff. And I think Netflix is starting to like release some of their older stuff. I don't think on disc, but at least on digital. Like you can buy. Like I
They
was
do.
scrolling on Vudu the other day, and like you can buy that Wednesday TV show like for
Yes.
$6 for the
Yeah,
season one. So like
we
that's
got a Blu-ray of that in Australia. Not that I brought
like
it.
I think
I
Netflix
want
is
to, but
starting to do more of that stuff, but like
I
I
think it
want a
comes.
Trial of Chicago 7 Blu-ray.
Yeah.
I love
Yep.
that movie.
Yep.
I want, I really want a, like I said, Glass Onion would be my easy answer.
Yeah.
And again, just for
Well,
Netflix releases, like The Harder They Fall would have would have a really
yeah.
incredible 4K.
Yep.
So I'd say like just any of, like obviously there's plenty of, Prey did get a release, but Palm Springs
Yes.
hasn't gotten a release. I'd love a Palm
Yeah.
Springs
I've got
release.
Palm Springs on Blu-ray. It's a
Is that
UK
right?
import. Yeah, it might be a
Okay, I was
UK
like,
import.
it
So,
never released in the US then,
mm.
so I'm sure you can buy an import.
Oh, I've got to mention some
Um,
and the machines Blu-ray as well.
I have, well, that's
Okay.
because that was made and was going to be like distributed by Sony in theaters, but then because of COVID, they
Ah,
sold it to distribute on
gotcha.
Netflix. So,
Okay.
so that's why it's like it's still technically like a Sony movie. And so anyway, so yeah, like that's my easy answer. Those ones. I mean, I think Amazon does a good job of like they still put out a Blu-ray. Nobody's buying Without Remorse on Blu-ray,
No, well,
but
no,
if I
well,
wanted it, I could get it.
without remorse. Is that what's that?
It was the based on a Tom Clancy book that I really love, actually.
Okay. I don't know if I've
The
heard of it.
Michael B. Jordan one. It was supposed to set
Ah,
up Rainbow Six, and it was
okay. Yeah, no, I don't know
yeah.
if I heard of it.
It's fine. It's totally. It's just it's so much potential because like Taylor Sheridan wrote it. It's based off a Tom Clancy book starring Michael B.
Hmm.
Jordan, action movie, incredible source material. Love the character. It was supposed to set up Rainbow Six, which is one of my favorite books of all time, and
Hmm.
incredible video games. Just really crap the bed on it.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like, there's definitely some other ones that I'm like, oh boy, I really wish I had a 4K like release available for this one. I mean, a big one would have just been simply the accessibility. Like, I've wanted to see The Abyss for a while. I
Hmm.
know it's not going to be the best movie in the world, but like the fact that
The
you
Abyss is pretty
couldn't see
good.
it for so long,
The Abyss is pretty good,
um,
man. It's not a terrible movie by any means.
like I'd like to see it now that it's out. Like I like that opportunity,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, I'm sure if I really wanted to, I could think of some.
Yeah.
The Nice Guys never got a 4K release. Again, not one that I think ever really needs one, but like
No, probably doesn't. But
I'd buy it.
I'd prefer a
Um,
sequel before a 4K.
I mean, I don't know if buying a 4K helps greenlight a sequel,
Mm,
I'll
that might.
buy
Yeah.
a million.
Sequel, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm blanking off the top of my head of like, because I think there's been a lot that has been done recently,
Mhm.
restoring a lot of the 007 ones, and
We're getting the
you
Sean
know,
Connery ones apparently. Is a rumor. The
yeah, I think they announced that and they'll eventually do them all, but even just getting them
Mm,
on Blu-ray took far too long, especially
mm,
for the fine quality they are. But
yeah.
and getting The Abyss and Aliens on 4K was huge. I'm struggling to think off the top of my head if there's like a, boy, how does this movie not have a 4K release or anything? To me,
There's
it's
a
more
lot.
just like there's definitely a lot, but it's just I can't think of any off the top of my head.
No, that's
Uh,
okay. I think you've answered it pretty well.
I mean, I guess I'm looking through very quickly. It's a
Hmm.
shame that there's no 78 Dawn of the Dead available in the US. I had
Yeah.
to buy an import. I mean, just culturally, like that movie should be like
Hmm.
enough. But yeah, to me, it's more so about like which movies just aren't available. So I think like, okay, there's a couple DVDs that I have, and I only have them because there's no Blu-ray or higher. One of them's a
Mm.
Borat. Borat never got a
Oh
Blu-ray
yeah.
release,
Yep.
or the Borat
Mm.
sequel never got any sort of home release.
No, that
And I
was
really
pure
like Borat
Amazon.
subsequent.
I
And
mean, on
and then I also have Damien Chazelle's first movie, Guy Met Alone on a Park Bench. I don't know, I didn't really
yes,
love it, but I'm not crying for like a Blu-ray of it. I need to see it again. But I have a DVD of Dogma, and I know that like Harvey
Hmm.
Weinstein no longer owns the rights to
Yeah,
Dogma, and
it's
so
coming
Kevin Smith
back.
has said like so. I mean, that would also be an easy like okay, Dogma would be a good example. I just don't think there's a
Yeah,
ton
I think Dogma
for
now.
me.
Look, I love Dogma from day one. It's always been my favorite Kevin Smith movie. But I think now the zeitgeist of it not of it being so rare and you couldn't get on physical. I mean, I think that's what's attracting a lot of people to wanting it because they can't have it. Um,
Yes.
because I don't know many people that actually adore the movie who aren't around my age group. So it's going to be, look, it's going to sell like hotcakes, and
Oh,
he wants.
I knew it mostly because of the like I knew it was an early Kevin Smith movie that had a way too talented cast and
Mm,
underperformed in pretty much all aspects except there's the owner. This is before we knew Harvey Weinstein was a tool in that way, but he was being a tool
yeah,
because he just wanted to prevent the movie from he wanted to sort of keep it in its original, I don't know, I guess probably build up demand, retirement plan or
yeah,
something, Finally
yeah,
we'll get Dogma on 4K, when I, need to
yeah.
settle a lawsuit or something,
That's well when he needs to pay his lawyers, I would say, and that's probably why
Yeah,
it's been released now. Because Smith said
probably.
he's offered $1 million straight up, and he was like, "No, not this."
Yeah.
Just was like, "No, not enough." So
Um,
I'd love to know. I can't wait till he tells the story and how he acquired it, but
oh,
it's
me
going to be an
too.
interesting
I
one.
can't wait for the special features on Dogma.
Oh, new
For sure
ones
pick it
too.
up.
Yeah, that's a
I
pre-order for
guess
me.
the only one other thing I'd say is there's a lot of like different cuts of films that just aren't available on other formats.
Hmm.
And I'll say primarily, speaking of Kevin Smith, apparently, so Chasing Amy got a Criterion release, but only on DVD. It was a
Right.
while ago.
Okay.
And I never knew this.
I
But
didn't know that either.
apparently, I know this from our mutual friend Frank.
Yeah.
That was the only place you could watch a director's cut of that movie, which Frank
Oh.
loves. I love Chasing Amy. I haven't seen
Hmm.
the director's cut though, so I'd
No,
be
that's
very
interesting.
interested to watch like a director's cut of that. Apparently, it's now on like newer printed Blu-rays. So there's that.
Right.
Like re-release Blu-rays,
I'll
like
have to
we'll
look that
have
up.
this option for this director's cut. But one other one that was a DVD exclusive Criterion that has never seen outside of that is apparently, and I haven't seen it yet, but I own a DVD copy because I got it for like $5 off of Amazon. But
Hmm.
Armageddon
Yeah.
apparently has a director's cut that makes the film a lot better. I mean, it's still going to have its core problems, but Frank swears by the
Hmm.
director's cut of Armageddon.
Armageddon. I'll have to see if it has the director's cut on the Blu-ray.
It's only on the DVD Criterion.
Oh, right.
And then,
Oh,
and if
so
I got like a Blu-ray Criterion or anything, it's exclusively DVD. It's even like archived from that. So,
so do you still buy actual DVDs, or only in
uh,
that instance where they're not on
only
Blue
in that
or
instance. So
yeah.
I only have Dogma and I have that. And look, I don't know if there's anything different, but I just love the idea. Michael Bay had another movie in the Criterion Collection.
Mm.
The Rock got a DVD release.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
love The Rock.
The Rock's
Um,
great. Yeah. That needs a
I
4K.
I want to know why like why it got a Criterion and like what the like special features are exclusive and all that. So I look the DVD was like $3. So
Yeah.
I'll buy DVD if it's like the only format I can get it on, or if there's some reason
Hmm.
to because of different cuts of a film or something. So
Yeah. I bought a couple yesterday because they're movies that will never get a Blu-ray because they're Fox movies, Fox, Disney slash, and I picked them up for $1 each at like a what you guys would call Goodwill, but like a Lifeline shop
yeah.
here in Australia. So yeah, it was like, okay, I don't like even watching DVDs most of the time, but yeah.
No, but it's like, look, this is how you watch Dogma or you don't watch Dogma. Fine.
Well, Dogma is in 4K on YouTube for free.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I
Kevin
don't ever
Smith said
go
it
that
himself.
route. Like
He said,
I don't ever
yeah.
go that route only because like unless like that's legitimately the only way you can watch something. Like yeah. Mostly because I grew up in the era where YouTube, like I was like 13 in 2008. It's like right when YouTube's like heyday. You know how many times I clicked on a video that was like, here's this movie streaming and it's, a Rickroll or it's just
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
screenshot of a poster, the exact runtime of the movie, and it's like watch on this scammy website. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure it's got a lot more reliable, but either way, just like whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's good.
Um
I've watched it myself on
and,
YouTube. It's
and I'm also
great.
like I'm not a proponent of piracy. I used to sail the seas in high school when I was poor and inexperienced, and then I got to college and
Yeah.
realized, oh, family video is actually like pretty inexpensive to like it's pretty inexpensive to rent, and then got adult money,
Mm.
and
See,
that,
for
that,
me,
that was that.
I don't see YouTube as pirating. For me, I only think of torrenting as pirating. If it's on YouTube, then it's there. And when Kevin Smith, he said it himself. He said it's on because he was telling the story of how Harvey rejected his offers. And it's like, well, you can all watch it for free on glorious 4K on YouTube anyway. I immediately looked it up and I kind of watched it like that night. I think it was like Kevin Smith says it's on there. He's not making money from it anyway. So I was like, yeah, I had no
I
qualms
mean,
about watching
it's
that.
technically like still piracy, but whatever.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, I guess so.
it's a
I never thought
the
of that though.
but no, but you're right. It's like it's a little bit. I would feel better about it than Pirate Bay or wherever else
Yeah,
people get
yeah,
their torrents. So,
yeah,
especially
definitely.
because it's YouTube, and if it can get past YouTube moderators, like
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah, I guess no one's pulled it up. Where are we on to
there's a
next?
there's a cut of Dawn of the Dead on there, like the original '78 Dawn of the Dead,
Okay.
the extended cut. That's the way that a lot of Americans can watch it if they don't have a DVD.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, there's YouTube does have a lot. Some people just slip under the radar, don't they? Do you?
Yeah.
Well, I know the answer to this, but do you catalog your collection?
I do. Yeah, to me, there's just it's because I owned so many movies. I always like
Mm,
I initially started it because I was like about to move, and I just thought I should know which movies I have and how I own
mhm,
them. That way, if I'm shopping, it's easy for me to know. And it's also like it's a handy tool for my wife to like, oh, I want to watch 27 Dresses. Do we have it where it's at? So
mhm.
she can just go and look.
Yeah,
Or, I wonder, does Aaron have, Hunger Games? If so, how do I watch it? So I have it
yeah.
categorized by name and then whether I own it on Blu-ray. And I just lump in Blu-ray, meaning disc. I don't
Okay,
separate. I do put in like special instructions or whatever. Like I note like special packaging, I think I put. I'll
okay,
type in 4K or something like that, just
right.
so I know. But I don't. And then I also have a column for if I own it digitally, and I'll catalog them all there,
Mhm,
just because I don't want to. I've never bought a multiple,
right.
and even before I was just like I didn't want to see something and like be like, oh boy, I want to take a gamble and not have that payoff or anything. So it's just easy for me. It's also easy for me to know like what movies I have, and it's how I track the movies that I've seen. I highlight them certain colors, meaning certain things, and then
Mm,
I catalog just with a Google sheet. It's also nice because again, a Google sheet I can share with anybody. My wife has editing access to it. All our sip pop
mhm.
writers have viewer access to it because of
Yep.
the podcast. But I also like I have a friend who's like send me a list, and he because he wants to know what he can borrow.
Okay. So you do lend yours out? Because I'm a strict no lending. I've had
Look,
too many bad stories.
yeah, I mean, I'd say like no more than one at a time, and like sort of with an implied like, look, if you lose
Mm,
it or break it or whatever, like you'll replace it,
yeah, yeah,
or something, whatever. So I don't know, like it's a good friend of mine. It's not like some random person I don't know that I usually
yeah.
see once a week. So it's like, I trust him. He's lent me his stuff. I let
Hmm.
him my stuff. Look, it very rarely comes up, but there was one time he watched Perfect Blue and then said I
Oh,
needed to
yeah.
see it, and I said I'm just busy right now. Like I don't feel good taking the steelbook right now, and he's like, it'll be a while before I see this one again. So it probably sat on my Xbox for like 4 months, and
Yeah.
then I watched it and gave it back to him.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
I wouldn't want a movie of
No.
mine out for a while. I had a couple instances in high school, but also don't lend out anything you're not like comfortable losing or replacing yourself.
Mm,
So
yeah. Yeah. Fair again. So you've actually answered all my questions just in our natural conversation here. That's
great.
all my upcoming ones. So that's good. That's a great result. That's a win for all of us. So we'll wrap it up. So thanks for being on the show, Aaron. I really do appreciate your time taking it,
Sure.
especially being so busy as you are. I hope you had some fun. I know I had some fun. It was you gave me a lot of good ideas actually. So I'm going to take some of them off and maybe repackage some of my movies. what do you want to plug for our listeners? We've mentioned a few times the Sip Hop Writers Room. Anything else that you're a part of?
Yeah, Sip Hop Writers and Podcast. It's mostly me crossing off movies off my watch list, but I really love opportunities to do like special stuff. Like I said, I've interviewed a couple different people. One of them being the James Mikowski, who is a film archivist, and Jeremy Simser, who's a storyboard artist who worked on
Yeah.
like WandaVision at the time
This
when
is
we
good.
did the interview. So yeah, so like it's mostly that, but I'd like to have more opportunities to do stuff like that. There's been once or twice that studios have reached out. It's just usually been
Okay.
like bad timing. Like I got an offer to interview somebody. I want to say it was, I don't remember a movie. Anyway, it's cool. I just didn't have the time for it. But yeah, I've thought about. Anyway, Sip Pop Writers and Podcast, of course, goes hand in hand with sifpop.com. Make sure to check out the stuff that our contributor writers put together. It's a great community we have over there. And we're sort of hoping to expand that avenue in other ways soon, just whenever I can get around to it and find the time, hopefully here starting on it soon. And but yeah, just sifpop.com and sifpop, I guess, letterboxed at Schweitcastle.
For me, huge recommend to check out the sifpop.com for one thing, plus also the Writers Room podcast, because it's always some fun on that show with the guest writers, with the contributing writers, guest on that pretty much every show. I've been a part of that, so it's good fun. So if you have enjoyed this episode, give me a follow at KerbSide Collections on Instagram. And if you are a collector and would like to be on the show, send me a DM. I'd love to hear from you and have you on the show as well to have a similar conversation that we've had today with Aaron. So until next time, thanks for listening to KerbSide Collections.